In this video, we'll be reading from a text file into structs. So in the previous video, we read into structs from user input, but we're going to change that to get the input from the file instead from the user. So let's have a look at what existing code we have from the previous C18 video. We've kept, of course, including the header file, so we can access the standard input and output library. We've also defined the structure that's got 3 fields. So we've got first name, last name, and an integer age, and we've given it an alias person. We also have a function to display information about a person. It also takes a person structure as an argument. And we've got the main method, the main function, which doesn't do much initially, except for defining an array that can store information about 5 people. So let's go over the steps. The first thing we're going to do is we want to open the file for reading. But before we do that, let me just show you the file. So I've created the file beforehand and I've named it people.txt. The file's got information about 5 people. Each line has got the first name, the last name, and the age. These are not real values, so you can probably tell from the age numbers, but yeah. The other thing that we need to keep in mind is when you've got the file that's got the information, you want to locate that in the same place that your project is running from. So this is sitting in the same place where my project for this C file is sitting in. So these are points to keep in mind. I'm going to copy the name of the file so I can get it 100% accurately. So we want to open the file for reading. The first thing we want to do is we want to declare a pointer to a file structure. Now, the file structure here is used by the C standard library to manage file input and output. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the fopen function to open the file. And I'm going to paste what I've copied. That's the name of my file. And also we want to be open, sort of specifying the mode. So we are specifying that we would like to open this file for reading. So this is in read mode. Okay, next what we want to do is, so this function, what it does, it will try to open this file using, for reading. And if it's successful, the file pointer here will point to the file. But if it fails, for reasons like the file doesn't exist or there's no permissions to read from the file, then it will be null. So that's what we want to do, is we want to check for errors. So check for errors, or check if the file has opened successfully. So if file is equal to, oh, sorry, I made that mistake, is equal to null, capital. So that means something went wrong. We want to print a message to the user, letting them know that something has gone wrong. So there's a problem with opening file, and we also want to return 1. So when we decide to return 1, it means that something went wrong. So if this program is returning 0, it means it was successful. If it returns anything other than 0, it means something went wrong. So let's have a look at how this actually works. I'm going to compile and run. Now it should give me return value 0 because everything went well. But then if I say that I change the name of the file we're trying to open to file 2, or say maybe I made a mistake here. So I'm going to run it because I didn't change the program. But now we get the error message that says error in opening the file. And we also get return value of 1 indicating something went wrong. So it's pretty much the same if you provide the wrong name here as well. Like you said, people 2 or people 23 or whatever, that also won't exist. All right, so what we then want to do is we want to go to the second step where we read data from file. So let's have a loop, and we want the loop to run 5 times. So using a for loop, and I starts from 0, I is less than 5. So it will actually go from 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, then it will stop. So that's 5 times and incrementing by 1 at each round. Now what we want to do is we want to use the fscanf, and we would like to read the data from the file into the people's structure. So that's yeah. So that's the array from file into the people structure. But there's one thing to keep in mind is we need to specify what sort of data types are coming through. So the first value of our file is a string, and the second one is a string, and the third one is an integer. So we can use a percentage sign for string, percentage sign string, and percentage sign for the integer, and separate that with a comma. And now we want to put the values. So the first value that's coming in from the file is going to be our first name. And the second value that's going to come in from the file is going to be stored into last name. I keep putting the wrong. Yeah, that's what happens when you work with multiple IDEs. And next we need to, well, because we're working with an integer, we want to mention the address using the ampersand symbol, and that's going to be stored into age. Now we want to talk about what this actually returns. Now this statement is going to return the number of items it read from each line, because we are in the first loop. So if that is, we know that the first line is composed of 3 values. So if that's not equal to 3, we want to indicate that something went wrong. So let's put it in in an if statement. So if this whole thing, or this line, it does not return 3, then we want to print a message to the user saying there's an error reading data. And we can even specify what line number that is. So we can say at line number, just put a new line there. And we don't want to say I, because I is going 0, 1, 2, 3. So we want something more human friendly. So +1. And then we want to break out of the loop so it no longer keeps reading. So that's pretty much it. So remember, we're putting the and here because we want to provide the address, because the scanf function, the fscanf function, needs to know where to store the integer value that it reads. So let's compile and run. Now it's looking like it's reading well, but if I make some sort of, say I'll get rid of that value. So now the third line has got 2 values instead of 3, then that's going to tell me that there's a problem at line or person 3. So you can even say it's line if you like, but since we're reading people, so a person. Okay, now the other thing that we want to do is close the file. So we'll use the file close function and passing in the file pointer. And last but not least, we want to display the information so we can see what we actually read. So we are going to use the same variable I, but we're going to reset it back to 0, because after this loop, it actually, after the last round, it became 5. Then we want to step out and we want to reset it back to 0. And remember, a semicolon, if I is less than 5, a ++. Now what we do is we've got a function here, so we will use that one. And that will take care of printing the details for us. We'll be passing in the structure, because that's what the function takes. It takes an argument. Where is it? A person structure as an argument. So people, passing each record. Oh God. Okay. All right. Let's compile and run and make sure this is working as expected. And so there is some problem happening here. So person 3, it actually failed to read the information properly. So let's bring that back to what it was and run it again. So now this is when the case has actually read all the information perfectly fine. And that's how we have read all the information from file into our structure, which we've defined here. So I hope this video you found useful, and stay tuned for more videos to help you out with your learning. Thank you for watching.